Uh, habari gani familia angu, karibu, 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 karibu to my home and my channel, and I wanted to make a video because a couple of things are making me scratch my head, so to speak. Most groups that I know of on the face of this earth, okay, are not necessarily accepting of outsiders. And even if they accept outsiders, the treatment that they will give them a lot of the time is different than the treatment that they will give their own. An exception to this is when you have a group like Americans or Europeans that are considered to be wealthy, and so what happens when an American comes around? You see the way that I am Marwa treats them. What do they call them? VVVIP or whatever? The treatment received by a VVVIP, roughly speaking, is that they tend to have their asses kissed. They tend to have their asses kissed. Why? Because they come bearing gifts, because they're considered to be wealthy people, and so the people that they go to visit consider them socially superior. So they treat them a certain way. In Marwa's case, he has special rooms in his villa that they can stay in, and he has, while all of the other guests eat food that's prepared at the outdoor kitchen that looks like it looks awful, but if you go to any Kenyan slum, the kitchens that prepare food for the public are going to look roughly the same way. Okay, they're going to look about the same way that outdoor kitchen looks. But as for Marwa's guests that stay at the villa, they have food prepared on special equipment. And yesterday, a young woman came and delivered a set of serving dishes, chafing dishes. They actually have a little compartment underneath in which you can put a tea candle or a little service unit that will keep the food hot while it's waiting to be served on the table. Very classy stuff, okay? On the other hand, when you have a poor orphan living in your midst, how do you treat them? And Fellow the Boy is a classic example. One of the reasons that Fellow the Boy, it kind of makes me feel sorry for him, but one of the reasons that he's so happy to have his own compound and he's trying to protect his compound is that apparently his stepfather told him at a certain point that when he died, he would not be buried in the compound because he's not really a member of that family. You have to feel a certain amount of compassion when you hear something like that. It's a horrible story, but the point of all of this is the following. If you pay careful attention, the treatment that fellow receives whenever he visits Mama Maria's house or any of these other houses, there's a treatment that other people receive and there's a treatment that he receives. The treatment that he receives is friendly, but it isn't very courteous. He's not offered anything to drink. He's not, he's not offered a place to sit. They let him stand. Okay, and who are the people who normally, most groups, if they come around, will not provide them with a place to sit, will let them stand? People that are viewed as socially inferior. So even though Mama Maria and all of those people are receiving, blessings through fellow, even though he's built them homes, even though he's done all of these things for them, they just don't extend them basic courtesies. And you know, the thing that's sad about it is that sometimes you get the feeling that fellow the boy is trying really, really, really hard to do good things to these people because he wants them to extend them certain courtesies and, you know, treat them like if he's one of their own, but they don't do it. Okay, Marwa technically is half a Kuria, but I suspect that the Kurias, like many tribes around the world, will judge who you are based on who your mother is. If among the Jews, for example, you can have a father who isn't a Jew, but if your mother's a Jew, you're considered a Jew. You know, something interesting that I want to tell you. There used to be a family in Germany called the Schickelgruber family. Okay, the Schickelgruber family were Jews, and apparently they weren't well-to-do Jews. They had a daughter who they sent to work in the house of a bourgeoisie family of Germans, and don't ask how, she ended up getting pregnant, and she had a son, Adolf Schickelgruber. Adolf Schickelgruber did not like the name Schickelgruber. Okay, I suspect that he didn't like it because it sounded too Jewish. Now, technically, because his mother was a Jew, he's considered a Jew. But Adolf Schickelgruber did not like the name Schickelgruber, so he used an alternative name. He used the name of his father's family. I'm curious, what do you think that name was? Adolf Schickelgruber decided that he was not going to be called Adolf Schickelgruber. Later on in his life, he made fun of that name, and he said, think of what his life would have been like had he gone around being called Schickelgruber. Now, he adopted a name that he thought was more elegant and sounded more Germanic. He used the name of his father's family. And what was his father's family called? Hitler. Adolf Hitler. So, like I'm saying about Marwa, among Jews, your mother determines whether you're a Jew or not. If she's a Jew, you're a Jew. Adolf Schickelgruber grew up hating Jews, but he himself was a Jew. One of those interesting stories in history. Marwa hates the Kurias, okay? He hates the Kurias, even though technically he's a Kuria. His stepfather is Kisi, but his mother's a Kuria. And if it isn't obvious, you know, Marwa secretly hates the Kurias. Why does he hate the Kurias? He hates them because of that story that he told. When he was 11 years old, a Kuria boy hit him on the eye with a stone using a slingshot and blinded him in that eye. And the stepfather didn't want to bother spending the money to take him to the hospital. Now, Congrats Pop gets a lot of, you know, he's viewed with a lot of respect. And I view him with a lot of respect. Why? Because he's a elder of the SDA community. And even though I personally have a view that if you take a good look at what the SDA believe, the SDA are very confusing people. They are brilliant when it comes to diet and good health. There is a blue zone in Loma Linda, California. Loma Linda, California has a university, Loma Linda University, which is Seventh-day Adventist, a huge university. They have Loma Linda Food Products, you know, which sells vegan foods made by the Seventh-day Adventists. They also have Morning Star Foods, which is a Seventh-day Adventist company. You know, they invented cold cereals for breakfast, like they like to eat in America. I mean, milk with corn flakes or all of those other cereals that you just add some milk to and eat. Seventh-day Adventists invented that. Seventh-day Adventists popularized vegetarianism and veganism, and they popularized taking nature hikes. And remarkable, brilliant people. They have done some medical procedures that they invented that were unknown before. Incredibly brilliant people. Their hospitals are brilliant. But when you look very carefully at what they believe in something called the spirit of prophecy, and they claim that they can prophesy exactly when their Messiah is coming back. They've been predicting this since 1844, and they have been wrong each and every time. The first time they called it a great disappointment, and on it goes. And I have never figured out why is it that such a brilliant people are so I don't know how to put it. When it comes to that part of the belief system, they're kind of like considered a laughing stock. And I was more a cultural Seventh-day Adventist than anything else. I was a preacher. I was very active in the church. But did I believe that they could predict when, their Messiah was coming back? No. The point that I'm making is that Congress' dad is a complicated man. Who does that? A child that you are calling your child, okay, even though he's a stepchild, is injured, and you're going to refuse to take him to get medical treatment? That, to me, very, very sad. But the point is that Akuria blinded Marwa in one eye, and so he hates Akurias. Okay, but at the same time, he's surrounded by Kurias. He can hate his father and act rudely to him, act passive-aggressively, and show him a lot of microaggressions, and who's going to do anything about it? He can hold up the engineer over him and, treat him with greater respect than he does the man who gave him the land that he built on, who basically took over the building site when he was sick. He can treat that man with disrespect, but, he's always going to try. Why is that? Because his stepfather is a member of the Kisi tribe. He's not a Kuria. He's going to treat Kurias with respect because that is a Kuria village, a Kuria land, Kuria people surrounded. Who else in that place? Oh, by the way, let me stop. I just remembered. If you please like and subscribe my channel, take a minute and subscribe to my channel. I'm not on here asking anybody to give me anything. I'm not out here with my hand out, but I really would appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. And bear with me, please, about the technical issues that I am having. Do your best to enjoy the videos, okay? But anyway, going back to what I was saying, who else that has come into contact with Marwa is not a Kuria? Fellow the boy is what in America we would be called a geek. He's incredibly intelligent. He's a little guy. He's very, very fussy. And he inspires respect. He's ultra competent. He just knows what he's doing. And, fellow the boy, I don't really know whether he's a Kuria or not. My theory is that he is not. My theory is that people who are distantly related or who were friends of his family took him in at a point where he had nowhere else to go and raised him. But Marwa is a man who does not necessarily like the Kuria people, but can't show them microaggression, can't show them any disrespect. Why? Because he's surrounded by them. But Fellow the boy is a convenient target. His father is a convenient target. And you'll see how he treats his father. Initially he was willing to do business with Fellow the boy, but Fellow the boy showed himself to be somebody who was very compassionate about other people, wanted to help other people. And what did Marwa do? He basically banished him, lied about him. Yes, it was a lie. Accused him of being a scammer, which turns out that Fellow the boy is a fairly honest person, and he's super competent. I think that if Fellow the boy took over finishing Marwa's project, it would be finished in a week. He's just excellent at what he does, but Marwa feels free to pick on him into, basically he's turned him into an outcast. Why? Because Fellow the boy is not a genuine Kuria, and it is easy to abuse him and disrespect him, and nobody's going to really stand up for him. But here's the funny part. A lot of people have stood up for him. A lot of people who know him have stood by him. He has Act Discovery. He has Joint Hand Green Lives behind him. And a lot of the people who have been affected by his building projects also stand by him. But they won't show him basic respect. They won't offer him food. They won't offer him water. They won't offer him any place to sit when he comes by. They basically treat him like if he's a second-class citizen, which, in fact, in that community, he is. Sadly, it's the truth. But the world is a lot bigger than Nyabohanse, and the people of the world have embraced Fellow the boy, and they trust him. They send him money. They send him gifts. And Fellow is prospering in spite of the way that, the people of the village have treated him and are continuing to treat him. I just wanted to say something about the young lady, I think her name is Kana Cool, who was talking to Marwa in front of his mother. If you look at the expression on that woman's face, I think that all of the other reactors that have talked about her and how she reacts to young women who are exposed, their chest is exposed and, their bodies exposed, I believe what is essentially unbelievable to most other people. There was a time when I belonged to a group that had a lot of people of different backgrounds, and a lot of them were a lot of the women, or some of the women were lesbians. And the expression that I see on Congrats Mom's face when she was at the river bathing with that other woman, when she looks at some of these young women, people may think that she's outraged. Oh my God, she's offended. I see a woman who looks excited. Okay, and people in Kenya just don't believe that anybody in Kenya is ever living an LGBTQ lifestyle. Well, consider the following. That woman has not lived on a regular basis in her home since her children were little. She's always traveled to a distant place, and she always does her thing there. And yes, she's a devout woman. Most LGBTQ people are very religiously devout. How does her husband know what that woman has been doing? Well, she was over at the school. Okay, for that matter, what's the guarantee that she was by herself all of that time? I know women from West Africa, not East Africa, but, well, actually, I also know women from East Africa who will tell you that lesbianism is a lot more common than anybody thinks, and that sometimes it's right there in the open. When you see a woman who likes to hug other women and kiss them and all of this nonsense, the thing is, in African society, from what I see, so long as a woman is married and has born children, nobody is going to accuse her of anything. But what she does in her private life, when nobody's around, that's a completely different matter. And I've been told by a lady that I know that it's very, very common among West African women, and I also have been told something similar about East African women, that when they're with their girlfriends and there's nobody around, they'll bathe together, they'll sleep in the same bed. If the weather is very hot, they'll sleep in the same bed naked and all of this stuff. And I just, maybe I'm a big cynic about certain things. I look at how Congrats' mom reacts to those young women that are scantily clad. I look at how she reacted to that woman from England who went bathing with her. Congrats' mom strikes me as being somebody who's erotically excited by, looking at these women. She had this grin on her face as she was looking at that girl. All of her teeth were out like she's a hyena ready to bite. And all of this nonsense about how she was trying to get her to cover up, that's one way of looking at it. The other way that I look at it is she never let go of that girl's hand, and she was trying to find out an excuse to touch her. I think that Congrats' mom has a little sprinkle of Congrats' mom is a very complicated person. I don't consider her this wonderful, saintly woman. I think that Congrats' mom is something of an imposter. I think that Congrats' mom has a freaky side. Consider how she behaved when she was bathing in the river with that other woman. Consider how she behaved when she was bathing in the river by herself. The thing is that she has created this image of such a religiously devout woman that no one would ask the question, is Congrats' mom something of a freak? I believe she is. My friends, please like and subscribe to my channel and support it with your comments, support it with your remark. I remain your Babu Eli-Ben-Eli. Kwaheri.